Okay, reviewing together part one, heart, question one. Your heart, a great organ for sure, but besides what Hallmark wants us to think, it really only has one main function. And what's that function? Who can tell me? What's that? Nice job. Movement of materials essential for the body's function. Second question coming up. The heart moves blood. Finish the sentence. You can tell me. Areas of high to low pressure. Outstanding. We'll talk about that more when we get to our valves and the process as we go. The gradient of pressure from blood moving from a high area of pressure to a low area of pressure can be measured through what? Nice job. The strain placed on the arteries while blood moves through them. Okay? Another topic we'll talk about as we go. Let's keep going here. The function of the pericardium best resembles what below scenario? We're not talking about fish pushing through a fully inflated bag, so you could probably eliminate that one. I made a mistake. Which one does it best identify with?
Your fist pushing through a half-inflated balloon.
Nice job. Your fist pushing through a half-inflated balloon. We talked about that before, right? Parietal, visceral membranes, right? With the FedEx packaging going around your fist. That's the best example of what the materials that surround both your organ and your body cavity resemble. We'll get back to that as we go. Okay? All right, the visceral pericardium attaches to the blank, while the parietal pericardium attaches to what? Nice job. The visceral pericardium attaches to the heart, while the parietal pericardium attaches to the pericardial cavity. Okay, good job. Let's go to the next one here. Okay, moving in a superior to inferior direction, the three layers of the heart, that should be heart, are in order. What order are they? Epicardium, what was it? Nice job. Epicardium, myocardium, and endocardium. Three layers, which we'll continue to talk about as we go. All right. Chambers of the heart, what are they? Left and right atrium, left and right ventricle. Okay, you're going to see that. You break down the heart into pretty much four chambers, a left and right, okay, and an atrium and a ventricle. So was that a true statement or false statement?
I put false because up until this point it was just superior atrium and
It didn't, but the picture of the heart showed a left and right. Okay, good job. So it's true for now. There we go. Let's keep moving. Finish the sentence. Atria blank blood, ventricles blank blood. Well, if you talk about arteries bringing or taking blood away, right? Veins bringing blood in, right? So blood filters in and out of the out of the heart, right? So the best answer involves atria push blood, ventricles, or excuse me, atrium receives blood, right? And the ventricles push the blood. Okay? All right. Here we go. Ventricle regions need beefy, thick walls because, nice job, they need to build up pressure to move blood throughout your body. Okay? So they push blood throughout the rest of your body to distribute the materials that your blood carries. Okay? Next one. Arteries equal what? Veins equal what? Arteries, what do they equal? Blood away from the heart. They take blood and its nutrient contents away from the heart. And veins bring blood to the heart. Okay? All right. Next one. What is the correct order of blood flow through your heart? This one was a tricky one. What's the best answer? Nice job. All right. So it takes it in, right? Moves it to specific areas. right? Oxygenates, brings it back, distributes it to certain areas as well. Okay? Two loops, pulmonary loop and systemic loop. What do they do? Good job. Oxygenation of blood as well as moving blood throughout your entire system. And finally, our last question. The pressure regulation of the movement of blood in your body follows what pattern? Nice job. Heart to lungs, to heart, to body, back to the heart. Okay, cardiovascular system. What types of things do we know about the cardiovascular system? You probably remember this from biology a little bit and maybe even before, but is the cardiovascular system in our body a closed or open system? Who can tell me? Why is it closed? Okay, what part of our body makes it closed? What do you think, Kira? I know, because the other class is going to see this, right? They'll know if you're knowing the right answer. So remember, open system, your blood's sloshing around, right? We don't have our blood sloshing around. Things that close our blood, specifically from the video, what things enclose our blood in our body? Arteries, veins, capillaries, right? So let's write this down for letter A. We know the cardiovascular system for A closed system of the heart and blood vessels. Write that down. So it's a closed system of the heart and blood vessels. We also know for number one, real simple, the heart pumps blood. So finish that one off. The heart pumps blood. For number two, blood vessels allow blood to circulate to all parts of the body. So blood vessels allow blood to circulate to all parts of the body. Okay, let's write that down. Moving on to part B, the function of the cardiovascular system is to two things. We already talked about this, right? To deliver what? What types of things does it deliver? Nice job. To deliver oxygen and nutrients. Write that down. And also to remove what, Kira? Good, right? So those components, right? Deoxygenated blood, and what's one of the waste products that we exhale that's in that deoxygenated blood? Outstanding. So it removes things like carbon dioxide and other waste products. Okay. Okay, a couple things on our heart location-wise. Well, don't really have to write much of this down. We're going to see a diagram in a second. It's located in the thorax, the thoracic cavity. Between the lungs, you're going to see a diagram of that. What's that? Yep, the pericardial cavity, but within that cavity, there's another cavity. We won't get into too much of that, but this is a real good directional term. The pointed apex, you're going to see this. That's actually in a human directed towards the left hip. So think of the anatomical position with everybody standing straight ahead. Your heart, the apex of it is pointed towards your left hip. And as they said in the video, it's about the size of a fist. Real simple, two fists, yep, clasped together, or one large fist by itself. If you look at this diagram, it shows that anatomy, pretty good detail, right? The apex in this diagram, if you were looking at it from the anatomical position, is found pointing towards your left hip. Okay, so a couple things we talked about in relation to the heart and its direction. Remember, the apex is associated with our left hip. We know the heart is in the thorax, specifically in the pericardial cavity, and we'll talk about more in relation to the lungs as we go. All right. Moving on, heart covering, pericardium, visceral pericardium, parietal pericardium, things that we should be familiar with. Let's write this down. Pericardium, all right, it's a double serous membrane. Write that down. There's two sides to that membrane. we have a couple components to write down associated with that. So the pericardium, it's a double serous membrane. We can write that right after pericardium, okay? What has to be lined in relation to this? When we talked about our stomach, our peritoneal cavity, pleurisy was another component.
Yeah, the outside of the organs.
So the outside of the organ's lined, right?
Cavity.
Good job. So does a lining occur around the organ? Yes. Does a lining occur around the cavity? Yes. Is there material in between the two to support? Yes. So we still have that same relationship here. So let's write this down for lining. So you have a lining of the pericardial cavity. Okay, so one of the functions of the pericardium is to be a lining around the pericardial cavity. Okay, so how did they identify this in our video in one of our questions? So if you had to visualize, what thing could you visualize to show the relationship of the membrane and its lining components? Fist and the balloon, and we used the bubble wrap example from a FedEx box, right? So visualize your fist pushing into bubble wrap or a half inflated balloon. So write that down as just a good example. Visualize your fist pushing into a half inflated balloon or bubble wrap, and the components of that material kind of engulfing your hand. So in this example, what would the balloon represent? So the balloon would equal what? Okay. Okay.
Isn't the diaphragm?
Yep, we're going to talk about that, right? So the balloon, yes, and you're all correct. And let's break it down a little bit further. The balloon kind of equals the pericardium, right? The double-sided membrane that has a couple different functions, right? So the balloon equals the actual pericardium, the membrane. Okay? In this example, your fist would equal what? The heart. So the fist equals the heart. Okay? And your wrist would equal what? Outstanding. The base of the heart, right? The base of the heart, and I put where vessels and arteries and veins interact. So it's the base of the heart where the vessels, arteries, and veins interact. Good job. Okay? Let's go to letter B. The pericardium is lined by a delicate serous membrane that is subdivided. So how could you identify this subdivision? Because the membrane does what? It lines how many things? The cavity and the organ, right? So it's subdivided. So this membrane has two components to it. Let's write the first one down. Visceral pericardium. Visceral pericardium. Okay? Where is it? It's next to the heart, right? And I put attaches to the heart so you can remember. It attaches to the heart. Oh, we do. We're rolling though. Last thing, number 2, the parietal pericardium. Okay? That's the outside layer, and just identify what does that attach to. It attaches to the inner part of the cavity. What type of cavity is it though? Pericardial cavity. So it attaches to the inner surface of the pericardial cavity.